Hey everybody, good evening. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Miles Cochran. I'm a Public Information Officer for Caltrans District 1. I represent Del Norte and Humboldt counties, and we're gathered here tonight to specifically talk about something in Humboldt County along Avenue of the Giants, or Route 254, some culvert rehabilitation that we're doing to over 40 miles of Route 254. If you want to find more information about this project, Google is actually really helpful. All you have to do is Google Caltrans Hum 254, and this is the first project that pops up, the first page that pops up. And you could also take out your phone right now if you'd like and look at the QR code on your phone, and that'll pull up the website as well. And I'll stay on this page just for a couple more seconds to give you a chance to do that if you're interested.
That same QR code is on the remainder of the slides as well.
Oh, excellent. So we'll have plenty of time. Some housekeeping items. Attendees tonight are going to be in listen only mode during our presentation. So if you do have a question, you can chat it in the little chat box there, and we'll get to it at the end of the presentation. There's also going to be an opportunity to raise questions vocally in that Q&A session as well. But yes, whenever we do get around to that, please use the raise your hand feature, WebEx. This presentation will be shared on the project webpage, which I told you about already. And if you are participating in this virtual meeting, please be advised that it is being recorded. This is the Caltrans Title VI statement. Caltrans ensures that no person in the state of California is excluded from participation in, denied the benefits of, or otherwise subjected to discrimination in Caltrans programs, policies, procedures, activities, and services on the grounds of race, color, national origin, sex, age, or disability. And this is a non-mandatory website that you can go to if you want to use this QR code to fill out a Title VI survey. Again, not mandatory, but if you are interested in going there, I'll leave this up for just a couple of seconds so you can get there. And with that, I'm going to hand things over to our fearless project manager, Grant Wilcox. Hey, Grant.
You're muted.
Thanks. Hello, everybody. Thanks, Miles. My name's Grant Wilcox. I'm the project manager for this project, otherwise known as Humboldt 254, or Avenue of the Giants Culvert Rehab Project. The purpose of this meeting is to inform the public, local residents, local businesses, and other interested parties about our proposed project along the Avenue of the Giants. We'll try to describe the project, the construction costs, introduce a draft environmental document, the DED, discuss the public review timeline for reviewing that document. We'll describe the potential traffic control measures that we'll use, the lane closure or the road closure and detour we'll have at Chad Creek, and other traffic handling procedures will follow during construction. We also will describe the construction techniques for this project that we're going to recommend and are considering. We have our design engineer, our environmental coordinator, and a representative from construction present, so they'll be able to answer your questions and present this. And with that, I'd like to introduce the project team. You've already met. Go ahead with the slide, Miles. Thank you. So our project team is, you've already met Miles Cochran. He's our public information officer. He'll be one of the main focal points along with myself, who you can direct questions to. And if we can't answer the questions, we'll direct them to the party that can answer your questions and address your concerns. And Miles is also running the show tonight. Thank you, Miles. Todd Lark, our project design engineer. Casey Nichols, our environmental coordinator, and Dan Borman's our construction engineer. But tonight, Ty Morgan Marbett will be here to answer your construction questions. Project is located along Humboldt 254, basically approximately about 10 miles from Garberville, at the separation of 101 and 254, post mile 0, the beginning of the Avenue of the Giants, and it'll continue for approximately 43 miles to about 0.1 miles north of Holmes Flat Road, almost the end of the Avenue of the Giants. Our project need. The purpose of this project is to repair and replace damaged drainage systems known as culverts. A lot of these can be damaged either through degradation of sediment traveling through the pipe and wearing through the pipe, or pipe separation, or even the most of them are metal pipe culverts, so they can corrode. They have generally a 50-year lifespan, so it's a good idea to replace them before they fail. If we don't replace them as these deteriorate, voids form underneath them, and additional sediment could be delivered to the South Fork of the Eel River. In worst case, these systems could even fail and collapse, causing large potholes in the road or even roadway failure. So we like to prevent that. The South Fork of the Eel River is listed as an impaired body water that exceeds the total maximum daily load, TMDL, for sediment. And 2 of these drainage systems are known barriers to fish passage upstream. The fish are unable to get to their spawning habitat in rearing. The purpose of the project is to repair these systems and bring them back to good condition and reduce the sediment discharges to the South Fork of the Eel River. Also to remediate these barriers to fish passage. The project cost is approximately $17 million for construction. Project schedule. This meeting, we're going to provide the, it'll be on the website also, and mailed out, the DED, the draft environmental document. The public will have approximately 30 days to comment. Those comments will be received in January at some point. Caltrans will address those comments and complete the environmental document in the spring of 2024. We'll prepare the final plans, will be finished in the fall of 2025. The permits and the acquire the right-of-way we'll need will be done by the winter of 2026, and construction will begin in the summer of 2027 and proceed through 2 seasons and be completed in the fall of 2028. And with that, I'll hand it off to our design engineer, Todd Lark. Thank you.
I'm Todd Lark, the project engineer for this culvert project to replace a large number of culverts on the Avenue of the Giants, which happens to be in Humboldt Redwood State Park as well. So we can go to the next slide. So I'll leave it here for the moment. So the intent, as Grant is pointing out, was to address the poor condition of some rather, old culverts, to minimize the potential sediment discharge, and also to address barriers to fish passage. So this list is, there's quite a few culverts. There's about 45 on here, and so quite a few of them are actually going to be increased in size, and that is to address some local flooding as a result of some undersized culverts. It's not going to address any flooding from the Eel River itself, but any local storms should be minimized as a result of the larger culvert sizes. Also, the larger culvert sizes will reduce the velocities passing through those culverts and reducing erosion and restoring the drainage systems into good condition. And then, as noted previously, is that it also will be removing a couple of barriers to fish passage, known barriers. And yes, thanks. By and large, most of the culverts will be replaced by, trench or what we'd call cut and cover method, where we would just be trenching across the highway. And in order to accomplish this, we'll be trying to maintain reversing traffic control so that it won't close the road down entirely. So most of them will be pretty quick with the smaller diameter culverts, similar to what you see on the lower left corner there, to where one side of the road could be replaced and then the other side with the traffic going back and forth. There are a couple of good-sized box culverts and a arch culvert, and I've got a couple of photographs further down on that one. Okay, we'll go to the next one. So, aside from the trench culverts, we've got a couple of locations where we will be, because of their extreme depths, they're in excess of 20 feet deep, we'll be using a trenchless technologies. It typically would be a jack and bore operation. Two of those locations are at the Hidden Springs campground. And in these particular operations would be less impactful of the road itself, because the work would be taking place off of the roadway. And so the next slide. And the other location is at the High Rock Conservation Camp entrance. And at this location, there again, the culvert is close to 30 feet deep. So the expectation is that we would be jacking the pipe between the space of the existing access road and the highway. And there's a couple of photographs there of what that might look like. Yeah, so, okay, next slide. So here's a couple more images of what a trenchless operation might look like. Basically, you'll end up with welded steel pipes that are pushed through the fill slope under the highway, and the space needed is pretty significant, because they generally will be placing in 20-foot lengths of pipe to do it, and then they'll auger the soil out from the pipe. And they use a thrust block of a sort, which is a photograph of one would be on the right there. And that's what they push with. So it gives you an idea of the size of the excavations for that operation. And next slide. Okay, so this is one of the creeks that's going to be addressing fish passage by removing the barrier. So presently there's a 3-foot box culvert at this location. It's very close to the campground entrance, or the visitor center at Post Mile 15. And a couple of things that we'll be doing here. So the construction process, in order to keep the road open, we're expecting to build half a bridge at a time, and we're planning on using best managed or accelerated bridge construction techniques, which is trying to have as many pre-assembled parts as we can in order to expedite the actual construction. So our initial approach on this particular bridge is to build the southbound half of the bridge on to the left or west of the existing alignment, while accommodating reversing traffic on the right side. Once that left half is constructed, then we move traffic over to that side and then complete the bridge construction. And in this case, there's a couple of redwood trees that you'll see in that center photograph that are quite close to the highway. So the finished alignment will leave the road with a slight kink in it, but it's going to be wider. So presently there's 2 10-foot lanes there. The proposed section will have 11-foot lanes and 2-foot shoulders. And we're trying to maintain a greater clearance from those redwood trees in order to minimize any impacts to the roots on those trees. Next slide. So, Chad Creek is to the north. You see the post miles 40.81. So the plan is to restore the channel to its original alignment, which is upstream of where it's currently passing. So in the layout there, you can kind of see a darker gray is where we're planning on constructing the bridge. And the bridge will be about 50 feet long. And there's presently a very poor condition 6-foot diameter culvert there. That was the previous culvert. And where that channel is that lower right photograph. You can see there's some old abutments from a very old road. It was probably here from an earlier alignment of the highway, but those abutments would be removed and the stream restored. And then the upper photograph shows downstream of the existing channel and where that confluence would be, with the realigned culvert. So the existing culvert that the creek is presently passing through will continue to pass through there, only just localized drainage. The remainder of the creek will be diverted to its historic channel further south, as you can see in the photograph. Next, a couple of examples of the bridge rails. There's a new bridge project at Fish Creek at post mile 4.2 at the south end of the Avenue of the Giants. And that there's a rendering of what that might look like for that project. And that'll be in construction this coming summer. The photograph on the left is another bridge a little bit further south of Fish Creek that's got an earlier version of the same type 80 type bridge rail. Next slide. And this we threw in, it's an example, a recently constructed project at Little Lost Man Creek, just as kind of an idea of how big of a change you might expect. So there was an existing box culvert you can see in the center photograph, and then to the right is the recently completed photographs. And that was constructed under half-width construction, where we had reversing traffic on one side at a time. So there's a couple of construction photographs on the left. And next. So at Chad Creek, the because the roadway would be closed for that construction, we're expecting that the detour would be about 6.5 miles long. And basically the time frame that we're expecting it to be constructed using those same accelerated bridge construction techniques would, we're expecting to take from maybe June to September. It could be of 2027 or 2028, but next slide. And rather than showing all 45 culverts, I just picked a select few here. This particular one is at the southern extent of the Avenue of the Giants. It's the arch culvert at Rocky Glen Creek. And so its condition you can see in the far left is quite deteriorated. And it's got steep slopes going to and from that particular culvert. So a culvert like this will take probably a little bit longer than those overnight sections. It may take a few days, and we'd expect that to be handled with reversing traffic and flagging, and if not, as we progress through the project, we'll consider whether we do something more robust. Another culvert, this particular one was listed as a barrier to fish passage, and in this case we'll be replacing that with a concrete box culvert that would be going from a 4.5-foot diameter culvert to a 8-foot by 6-foot box culvert. So the flow line of that culvert would be below the water level that you see in the photograph with the water at the outlet, removing that barrier to fish passage. Another one. And this culvert is very near the visitor center for the park there, and the culvert itself, the condition is good. However, the outlet is deteriorated, and so the plan is to raise the flow line of the stream back up to the elevation of the outlet of that culvert. And the armoring that we'll be using will be some blend of rock and woody debris. And I'll pass that on to Cassie now.
Hello, my name is Cassie Nichols, and I am the environmental coordinator for this HUM 254 Culvert Rehab project. And I'll be giving an overview of the environmental review process and talking about some of our measures and best management practices. Per the California Environmental Quality Act and the National Environmental Policy Act, the project must go through an environmental review process to evaluate potential impacts to the environment. The analysis of these impacts for this project are included in the California Environmental Quality Act environmental document. To begin, our process started with the need identified of the poor and failing culvert systems, which developed the project purpose to rehabilitate these drainage systems. Once our purpose and need was established, environmental studies were able to begin, which evaluated the setting of Highway 254 and our proposed work. Environmental areas reviewed include visual, cultural, biological, hazardous waste, wildfire, traffic, and water quality, just to name a few. Following this analysis, an initial study negative declaration was prepared because there would not be a significant impact to the environment or to cultural or historic properties, as the majority of the work of this proposed project is within the existing roadway. The initial study negative declaration will be available online at our Caltrans website mentioned earlier by Miles. Or you can obtain a hard copy at the Humboldt County Library in Garberville or the Caltrans District 1 office, which is 1656 Union Street in Eureka. We have just entered the public comment period on this initial study, and comments, if you would like to provide them, are due by January 13th, 2023. Following the comment period, Caltrans will review and evaluate all comments and then evaluate the project with the potential to abandon, re-release the document, or move forward with the final initial study, which we anticipate about March of 2024. Following the environmental document, Caltrans would move forward and obtaining environmental permits, finalizing our design process, and moving forward towards construction, which is currently anticipated about 2027. So I have there we go. Measures and best management practices. I've been asked a lot why construction work may be completed during certain times of the year, and that often corresponds with Caltrans measures and best management practices. Caltrans has many standards that we follow, but I will just be highlighting a few of the environmental ones that will apply to this project to give you an idea. To begin, this project will have an in-stream work window of construction only allowed June 15th to October 15th to protect the most vulnerable stages of aquatic life. This time period also occurs when drainage systems typically have little or no water, which is also a little convenient in replacing culverts. If water is present, a clear water diversion would occur and an aquatic species relocation plan would be developed and in place during construction with a biologist on site for all in-water work. And there's a picture on the left-hand side of the screen, also actually from Little Lost Man Creek and construction, of their aquatic species relocation. Biologists would also complete pre-construction raptor surveys. And although we have limited vegetation removal on this project, in the event that vegetation would need to be removed during the nesting bird season, which for this area is typically February 15th to September 15th, a biologist would survey, and if no nesting birds were found, we would move forward. And if there were to be nesting, then we would comply with the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, coordinate with CDFW, establish buffers, and develop a plan moving forward, potentially skipping a location. You can see the photo on the right with someone completing a survey. Caltrans has completed informal consultation with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in the form of our programmatic letter of concurrence, which brings construction noise work windows to this project under 90 decibels, excluding backup alarms, from the time period February 1st to August 5th, followed by a 2-hour sunset and a 2-hour sunrise restriction, which continues August 5th through September 15th. A stormwater pollution prevention plan or a water pollution program would be developed that would organize the water quality best management practices, such as silt fencing or fiber rules that are designed to keep sediment from leaving the construction site. Moving forward, measures may also be added in consultation with the National Marine Fisheries Service and environmental permitting agencies for the waters of the U.S., which are the Army Corps of Engineers and the North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board. In addition, a lake and streambed alteration 1600 permit and coordination with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife would occur. With that summary highlighting just a few of Caltrans' environmental measures and best management practices, I'll send it back over to Todd, who's going to talk about construction.
Mute myself. Yeah, this is Todd Lark again from design. Just had a couple of comments on construction. So next slide. So yeah, the bigger considerations is going to be traffic throughout this project. So coordination is going to be quite important. And aside from some of the other constraints that Cassie just mentioned, there's also the practical constraints of replacing culverts. Generally can't happen in the wintertime for that practical reason. So we're expecting, due to the number of culverts to be replaced, it's going to take 2 seasons to do that. Next slide. So some of the considerations, generally, outside of the Chad Creek Bridge construction, we're anticipating maintaining reversing traffic control throughout the rest of the Avenue of the Giants to minimize the impacts to the traveling public, and it is a destination for so many people. And with the 2 seasons, it should allow a lot more time for planning to be able to expedite any construction of those bridges to minimize those impacts as well. And that's all I had for that.
Just going to hop in here real quick and let everybody know and remind everybody that we do have a website for this project. And you can just Google Caltrans Hum 254. It's the first thing that pops up. You can also use the QR code, which you can see on the presentation screen here. And in addition to that, we're going to be providing project updates throughout the life of the project, and you'll be able to find those on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram, and also you can find us on Twitter as well. Just search Caltrans District 1, again, for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.